Sambrano. I'm the global chief market strategist with ATFX and also the manager of investingcube.com, which is a great website for news and education. We're going to take a look at the markets as we usually do at this time of the day at 9:30 a.m. London time here on the ATFX YouTube channel, and which is also technically the Investing Cube channel. Uh, let's begin. If you guys have any questions, just put them in the chat box. If you want to say good morning as well, then this is a good time to do that. This webinar will run for 15 to 20 minutes and we'll cover a few markets, the major ones in the very morning. But if you want me to take a look at anything special, then just let me know. All right, Euro versus the USD. The market remains in a bearish downtrend. We can clearly see this as the price is creating these lower and lower and lower highs. And yesterday the price turned around from pretty much 110.71, and in about 20 minutes time we'll have the SEV index from Germany, and the benefit of that index is that it gives you an idea of what the situation is in Germany. It has a decent correlation with GDP growth, so people are going to look at that. The numbers are better than expected. Then maybe the euro is going to go up with some 20 pip or so, maybe to 10.39, and maybe obviously add a bit more, maybe to 10.50 or so. But I think in general, from this level, if we would revisit these levels, I think we could potentially do something like that. And that's the outlook for the euro USD. As for GBP versus the dollar, the short-term trend remains bullish here. You can see that because the price is creating these higher and higher lows. Whereas in the longer term, it remains in a downtrend because you can see the price is creating these lower highs like that. And my general idea is that somewhere here, the market will create a new major high like this one. And that's why I'm long-term bearish, but in the short term, we remain bullish. And I'm going to lift this little buy area slightly, so leaving it at 124. So I think if we revisit 124, some people might look to go long. The target's maybe 25. So get about 100 pip return potentially by risking 74 pip. So that's my outlook for GBP USD. As for the dollar yen, yesterday we said look to buy here. The price has now reached our profit target area, and this is a good level to book a profit. Much like the GBP USD, this market is guided by a short-term uptrend, and you have a double bottom. This is the weekly low, and this is also a low, which should be the low of Friday. Now trade below that level, and the series of higher and higher lows in the 30-minute chart here, or 6-hour chart here, would have been over. At that point, I think we'll go down. As well, in this zone, which we're reaching now, I think overall the currency is gonna turn lower, because if you look at it from a bigger picture perspective, we're creating lower and lower highs. As well, we have trade wars and problems, and I don't think that's gonna go away anytime soon. My neighbor is a gentleman that works in a family office, and he's from mainland China, and I reckon, I mean, I didn't ask, but most likely, well, obviously he knows quite a good deal of what's going on in China, and he reckons that this trade war thing is something that could take 5 to 10 years. That's how long time he thinks it's gonna take, because I think maybe, you know, China, I guess at one point knows there's certain things would need to change, but obviously they want to try to maximize things as much as possible. The sort of protectionism and other things that are ongoing in China, where you need to have a partner, is actually not very uncommon in most emerging economies, even in the developed world, like say the UK, Holland, and the US. When the UK was going in, Spain, if you think about it, even before that, like when these industries or these countries build their wealth, the markets was much more regulated at that time. You know, you had like one company that can do one sort of business. one company would do something else, and everything was sort of controlled by the governments at those times. And when the economies were strong enough, or these industries were strong enough, that's when they started to sort of allow outside investors. But many countries still, they don't allow outside investors, and if you do some sort of a deal, you need to go in 50-50. You can't just go in and set up your own business. You need to have some local or someone with the passport of that country to do businesses. And if it's not that, there's other stuff as well, like tax-wise in certain countries. If you do investments and you're a citizen of that country, you get taxed a certain amount. If you're a foreigner, you get taxed at a much higher rate if you remove the money from the country. So there's a bunch of different things, and a lot of these economies do this and have done that in the past. And China obviously has his protection of its economic system and its economy. And as things develop, much like a baby, right? In the beginning, a baby can't really do too much, but then eventually it can stand on its own two legs. It crawls, and then it walks, and so on and so on. And then eventually it's a young adult, and you kick them out of the house. So I'm not saying it's gonna take 10 years, but I definitely don't think it's gonna go as quickly as the market thinks. In either case, technically here, I think overall the bearish outlook remains the same, with the market potentially rolling over here. I could be totally wrong, and if I am totally wrong, then the idea is you risk less than what you're looking to make. And for now, of course, the trend remains bullish, so it's a bit too early to short unless you happen to be very, very confident that the market's going to roll over here. Let's look at something else. US oil. Let's focus on US oil today, and we'll do UK oil as well. So this is West Texas. There's two crude oils. West Texas, which is produced in North America, and then you have Brent crude oil. There's always a price difference between these two, and the reason for that, and the West Texas tends to be slightly cheaper. Most brokers, they call it like US oil. And the reason is that the US has restrictions on exports in crude. You can't just sell it the way you want it. I think there are certain deals, for example, with Mexico, where they do provide Mexico with one sort of crude, and then Mexico sends another sort of crude back, but sort of the balance remains sort of the same. And that's why you actually have different price levels on US oil and on Brent crude oil. In fact, the US oil is more cleaner than Brent crude oil. So technically it should be costing more money, but it isn't, and it has to do because of export and limitations that the US companies has. And what the reason for talking so much about this one is that we actually had a quite interesting scenario here yesterday from a technical point of view. You can see that we're stuck within this big triangle, right? And we traded above it. We also have, I think, a shorter term triangle like that. So you'll connect this high and this high here. Now in Brent crude, the market moved so much ahead, so the risk reward ratio was not really good. I'm not saying this is amazingly much better, but it definitely makes more sense to maybe trade this one, because you have this high, which is 58.73, a high here in July 31st, another high here on September 10th, and you have all these trend lines here. So what happened here yesterday is that the market hit these highs as the market opened on Sunday, and then about 8 hours later we revisited this point, and this point would have been a good spot to actually buy. This spot now is the trend defining level of this move here, and triangle wise we can go much higher. There are different ways of measuring this, but difference from high to low, something like that, will give you a target of 71.81, which is up here. All right, and this could be definitely interesting, and because this now becomes the stop, so people that bought here, they probably have to stop also just below it. Now if we take out this level, doesn't mean that the price is gonna tumble all the way down, but it would definitely hurt that little uptrend. So I'm gonna be bullish about 58.70, and I think if the market revisits, so if we just take fibs on this, by the way, I want to see how much this is. Yes, it's almost down to the third fib, slightly less. So I'm gonna bump this up a bit, This is 60.55. So if we go down here, I think people might look to get involved. Initial risk reward ratio, I mean, if short-term levels, if you just hit that high, you're gonna get 1 to 66. And if we start to go upwards, you know, you're looking at maybe something like 3 times risk reward ratio. As for Brent crude, it's also bullish. Now this gap was not properly closed. I'm gonna treat this as the trend defining level now for short-term traders. And again, if we go back maybe to something like 66.54, I think some people might look to get involved. Gold prices. All right, so gold prices move back down to that little buy zone we've been talking about, and it's looking okay. Price is trading sideways within this range here. It's also a bit of a head and shoulders, as you can see, with the head, left, right shoulder. It's becoming more and more clear. And if we take out the low, you can have a bit of a decline. I'm not saying it's going to decline all the way down here because I don't think that the world is ready for that yet. But it can easily go down to 14.48 on a break here. For now, though, let's not get carried away. The trend is bullish about 14.98, and your risk reward ratio here is 4 times the money if you would buy, and if the market indeed hits the high. Great risk reward ratio, but we're very close to the stop, and that's why the risk reward ratio is good. The problem with this sometimes when it's like this is that the price can just spike down, and then you're out. So there's that inverse correlation. The probability of getting spiked out or stopped out is higher many times in these sort of setups. German DAX, what's going on here? So you got yourself a low here from September 12th, which is Friday, and then you got a low here from September 16th, which is yesterday. Actually, September 12th is Thursday. So you have that, you have those spiking crude oil prices, and you even have some bad data from China out earlier this week. And more importantly, or not more important, yeah, probably more importantly, you remember we talked about it inverse head and shoulders, was that this is probably going to go up. Well, we're still at the profit taking area of that pattern, and we're very close to these highs. And at around the highs, people sell. They sold on July 30th, it's the 3rd of July, and they sold on the 25th of July. So I think the same is going to happen here. So I think if we break below the low, this will probably accelerate and go a little bit lower to maybe 12,076, and from here, some people might look to rebuild their positions. As for the S&P 500, as well, is starting to look a bit tired. So you might remember we said you could go long here if you wanted to. Down here, we shared a few of these setups, buying here and for this to go up. When we're back at resistance now, obviously take that out, we can go higher. But the markets are not really trending nowadays. They don't do that. They just rally a lot to the upside, give you a bit of a breakout, and then they go tumbling down, and then they go all the way up. So maybe we'll go up and take out some stop loss orders just above here. But I reckon that normally what's going to happen here, I think that we need a bit of a pullback. As well, I haven't done it for some time, so let's do it today. Bitcoin. What's going on with Bitcoin? So it's been some time ago I did an update on this one. I did an article. I remember the last few setups said look to buy here, bullish about this, went up, and then whenever I did this update last time, I can look it up, but I was still bullish above 90.52, and the market remains bullish. Now, what's finding some interesting patterns here? You have yourself a small head and shoulders with a left, right shoulder, and a break to the August 20th high, potentially causing a $1,614 move would lift you up like that. That's something to pay attention to. And I think in general is really sort of a situation where this is either gonna be a major high and we're gonna go much lower and then go upwards, because we could be building some sort of a massive triangle type of pattern. I think that could be something. But for now, today, if someone put a gun to my head and said, Alex, you need to put a trade on, then I would say, well, I'll probably be looking to buy here at 97.80.58. The reason why I'm a little bit bearish on cryptos in general is that I know Ripple, at least, has been bearish quite some time. So this is Ripple, and I did an analysis on this in August, and the market traded below, went down, and then it went up, and it is looking like it's trying to stabilize. In fact, it's trying to break out slightly higher, as you can see. But are we properly out of the woods yet? Just with 1 day of data? Probably not. We're still remaining below this high, I think. At least for now, as long as you're below 2940, then this trend is going to be bearish. This is Ethereum. Actually, Ethereum, I was bullish on Ethereum here. I even held a short position here. On Ethereum here, looking much more constructive. And short is looking much more constructive. Don't have I don't have a very strong view, but trend is bullish was $1,74 per coin. This is Bitcoin Cash. So this is actually not as bearish. So this is actually starting to look rather constructive in a way that a few weeks ago, when Bitcoin was challenging these lows here in July and in August, you got Ripple turning really bearish here. And Ethereum as well was going clearly down, which it's not doing anymore. So I thought that was really what was going on with the crypto markets, and that would suggest that it's higher likelihood that this would slip below. But with at least Ethereum stabilizing, with Bitcoin Cash pretty much turning sideways, and see Litecoin, okay, still in a bit of a bearish situation. Think so slightly better now to potentially be buying Bitcoin at the lows here compared with before, when everything was bearish, because before Bitcoin was the only thing that was sort of really strong. Everything else was sort of rather bearish. Okay, let's see if you guys have any questions. Okay, we have Nikos in the chat box. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you have any questions, let me know, or anybody else for that matter. If you are joining us this morning, like 11 of you guys are doing right now, don't forget to hit that let me know, or anybody else for that matter. Really important if you can do that. If you are joining us, don't forget to check out. I did a video here.
Digesting that oil price shock. Tell us more about how the market.
Very good in the US as well. Over the last few weeks, numbers have not been very good. So imagine now having crude oil prices at much.
So we got a question if we can take a look at natural gas. Sure. Let's see if I can pull that out. All right, this is natural gas. This is some old analysis. Okay, I haven't looked at this for quite some time, so let's look at this again. I always like to look at from the big picture. So from the big picture, you can see that we had a strong decline, and things were looking rather bearish at one point, but now the prices moved back up again. If we flip to the daily chart, the question here is this gonna continue, or are we gonna go up? The problem here is we don't have a proper pattern. We just have the failure. So we have the failure of this breakdown. That's what we have. The break here is just a failure. So if this market would have gone, if it was trading at 241, I would have said, probably look to sell here for it to go down. That would have been my natural reaction or natural view. But we're now on the wrong side of this. So it looks like you're dealing with a short squeeze where people have been short and suddenly they're getting squeezed out. Now, if you just look at simple resistance, then you have these highs up here. So you have this high here, and you have this high here. So I reckon that this short squeeze should soon come to an end, maybe at 280, and then it's probably going to trade sideways for a bit. That's what I think. I don't have otherwise a very strong view. This is a bit of a messy chart, probably going to go up. So I think probably the best thing I would do here is that because I think it's probably going to go like that, and then like that. Will it go all the way up? Could do, but probably not. So probably go like that, and then maybe like this, and then it's going to settle here somewhere, and then maybe you can do something like that. Yeah, actually this is a very good idea, because if you think about it, it could just be, if it does like that, right, then you'll have a very weird looking, but still some inverse head and shoulders with a head, sorry, head left, you guys have a right shoulder. So probably up a bit messy here, and it's probably in its final push. In the 1 hour, you can clearly see how it continues just to be bullish. It'll remain bullish above 250. Okay, that concludes today's market update. Guys, if you're watching this, don't forget to follow us on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. This is for my trade ideas and what I think about the markets. That's the link. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. You should also follow me on Twitter. Investing Cube, my trade ideas, and what I think about the markets. And here you get content. That's the link. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. You should also follow me on Twitter. Investing Cube, all my trade ideas, and what I think about the markets. And we also have a Telegram. For example, here you can. This is the euro dollar outlook, which I published at 8:20. And here is the Telegram link for that. Okay guys, I wish you guys a great day and very good trading, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow here on the Investing Cube and ATFX YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.